Breaking news coming in. Now, US President. Now we are taking another breaking news. We are now bringing you the visuals from the streets of Tehran where the public mourns the death of their supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Let's listen in.
السلام على من دفن اهل قرى نمیدونیم چقدر پیکر سرگردان درش برسه کاش صدای برادر به خواهرش برسه سید الشهدا سید الشهدا میز که امام رضا فرمود ابن شبیب این کنت باکیاً لشیفت ماسمون یادمون نمیره هموار نبرد حق و باطل برپاست هر روز
Now we're having another breaking news coming in. US President Donald Trump has issued a stern warning to Iran after the country threatened to launch a massive attack. In a statement, Trump has said that if Iran follows through with their threat, the US will respond with unprecedented force. He has emphasized the severity of the situation, stating that the US would not hesitate to strike back with overwhelming power. The situation continues to escalate as tensions between the two nations rise. Now we welcome back Mr. Keith Vaz. He's joining us live from Dubai. Thank you very much, Mr. Vaz, for staying with us. Now, do you think that negotiations that were taking place, was that a cover for these Mission Epic Fury or Operation Epic Fury, or do you think this was genuine effort of diplomacy that we saw?
Well, I think that this is a pattern. I keep going back to a pattern.
Yes.
We know that President Trump shoots from the hip and makes his decisions very rapidly, and only he knows what those decisions are. It's what's called modern leadership, I think. But what is also very clear is that he follows a pattern. He tries to engage, and if the engagement does not work, he then takes effective action. He did the same thing with Venezuela. It's the same pattern. You engage, you show that you want to listen, and then you turn around and then you act in a particular way. So I think he's probably always had it in his mind that the Iranians were never going to deal with this situation adequately. But he's got the added problem, which he didn't have in Venezuela, is he's got the Prime Minister of Israel who is pushing him along. This is not something Donald Trump is doing on his own. I think Benjamin Netanyahu has wanted for many, many years to ensure that he deals with Iran, and he's finally found a president who's going to work with him. So although this is seen as an American operation, it is very much with the support of the Israeli forces because they are in the Middle East. And it is in Mr. Netanyahu's mind that you'll never get a secure Israel unless you deal with the Iranian situation. So that is why you have this problem. This language, the mother of all attacks, I will respond with epic fury, all this kind of stuff. We have actually heard this language many times before. The Iranians are very good at saying these things, and Mr. Trump, they found someone who is going to be equally strong in using language. This is where rhetoric replaces law. And as a result of that, people can get very excited about language. But of course, language also identifies the situation that we're in. It's a very difficult situation. For people in the UAE, in places like Dubai and Sharjah and the other Emirates, the biggest problem is the number of tourists who are here who can't get back to their destinations. They can't get back to London, they can't get back to New York, they can't get back to Chicago, and that is the biggest problem that there is. If the Strait of Hormuz is also closed by the Iranians, and they have, in a sense, control over that, that's 20% of the world's oil not getting to its destination. So I imagine that the price of oil is going to go up. So every citizen in the world is going to pay for this war through more costs, not just the taxpayers of America and the people of Iran. We're all going to have to pay for this war.
Thank you for highlighting that, Mr. Vaz. Thank you. Now we also welcome Mr. Collins Chong-Yu-Keith. He's a foreign affairs and security and strategy analyst, joins us live from Kuala Lumpur. Thank you very much, Mr. Keith, for joining us. Now, looking at the situation that's unfolding in Middle East, how do you analyze the vacuum that's created in Iran? Do you think that we will see a swift regime change or a transition to more democratic government in Iran, or do you think it's going to be a repetition of something similar to Ali Khamenei's regime?
Difficult to predict what the outcome will be. In terms of gauging the domestic sentiments, we have two sides of the equation now, those who have been also looking forward to this kind of so-called liberation, and those who have been also adamant in continuing the status quo. We have also seen reports of how the successor to Khamenei and his own son, and of course also is the state of the opposition is also not in a good state. It's in disarray as well. We have seen how Reza is nowhere in Iran, and of course also it is still in a very delicate situation. Of course any post-conflict situation is highly risky, and this is a high risk high reward system for President Trump. And of course, and it's still in its infancy now. We have now entered the second day, and of course, Iran is entirely different from the case of Venezuela, from the case of Iraq. 2 decades ago, Iran is of course bigger in terms of size, in terms of the capacity of defense, and this poses a legitimate real threat to whichever foreign power that is keen also to have this kind of regime change, objective. We have seen that before, but for President Trump, of course, is not known to be a fan of a protracted conflict that will, pose, this long-term, engagement for the U.S. forces, and this will eventually also have this profound impact on the efficacy and capability of the U.S. forces elsewhere to have this kind of a new theater of conflict being opened up in West Asia and in the Middle East, and this will have profound implications also for its possible theater in East Asia over Taiwan in terms of its capacity and stockpile of munitions and arms which are now dwindling. But President Trump has weighed all the options, and this is also, let us not forget that this is also about the larger equation of constraining, of course, not only Iran, but of course its proxies in the region, but also ultimately the larger picture will be on how, from the case of Venezuela for the past 2 months now, and now with the case of Iran, entirely constraining China and Russia, and how Iran and Venezuela are now, have in the past being the core oil suppliers to both, especially to China. So it's an integrated, strategic maneuver, but it remains to be seen now how this will, turn out. But President Trump, as he has stated, that he has repeatedly warned the RGC that the retaliations must be, constrained. Otherwise, President Trump has different options on the table to ensure that there will be bigger retaliations from the U.S. should the retaliations by the RGC or the Iranian regime be seen as, threatening, the U.S. further.
Thank you very much for highlighting that, Mr. Collins. Now we have another breaking news coming in from Iran. Iranian state media have reported that Iran's